Pretty simple machine, not a lot of belts and hoses on this 8570. They were, of course, it was, people ask me, well, I've got a Massey Ferguson, why I'm not running a White or an Oliver. This machine was designed by White. It was going to be the 9320, and just as they were going into production with the 9320 White, White was in pretty dire financial straits, and so they sold their combine line to Massey Ferguson, who was looking to get into the rotary market, and the 9320 became the 8560. That had the B series Cummins and some other features that they upgraded when they became the 8570. The biggest thing would be the upgrade to the C series Cummins. A lot more cubic inches and horsepower. Sure makes for a much better machine. And some other improvements, refinements. But for all intents and purposes, when we bought this, we still had our White 8900, and I needed to move the corn head, and I hooked up to it with this 8570. So biggest thing was the pulley, drive pulley's on the other side, and it was just hitting part of the frame there. I would have, if I was going to actually use it, I would have had to do a little trimming on the head. But other than that, still the White hookup on the front of it. And in my heart of heart, it's a White combine. Now there's the power plant. I'm up under the right side of the combine. Cummins C series engine, turbocharged, after cooled. But what we're after is down here. I want to put concave blanks in. Let's put that right there. Set that back there. Normally I do this after I wash it, but I guess this year it's going to be before I wash it. Not a big deal. This one can go inside. As you can see, the last thing it did was run corn. Corn head's still on it. So what this does, besides getting me all itchy, this covers up some of the sections of the concave. Corn cob in there. There. Stay. Oops. It covers up some of the sections of the concave so the grain can't fall through as quick, and so then it has to stay in there and get threshed more. I only do this for wheat. Wheat's a little bit tougher threshing crop than corn or soybeans. So we come around the other side here, and I'll move a couple things. Ouch. I might go get my step stool. There she is. Let's put that there. She's ate a couple of rocks in her time. But now all I gotta do is, where did I put my wrenches? There they are. And of course, flip her over. Tighten her down. I've run wheat without the blanks in. Have to run the rotor faster and tighter. And it's a little harder on the straw and the grain, so I find it's a little better to, I'm happy with the results I get with the blanks in. Tighten the jam nut up so she don't go anywhere. And I'll leave the camera here and go stick the other one in so you can kind of see it come through. Just a hook on the other end, hooks over a piece of rod, tighten this end, and she stays in place. You'd be able to see the rotor better, but I have the non-perforated overlap panel up here. It comes with a perforated one. I felt it loaded the sieves too much on this side of the machine because the rotor turns that way, so the grain coming over the top would come right through this panel up here. Oop, that panel up there. It was perforated and just get a lot more grain on one side, and with hillsides and stuff that'd really make for slow going if you were facing downhill this way. So I got the solid panel and replaced it with that, and that definitely helped. It also helps the wheat because, once again, it keeps it in there a little longer for better threshing. To give you a rundown, there's a drum inside there that turns and brushes it against the concaves here and separates the grain from the rest of the material. Some of that other material still comes through, so it needs clean. And you got more back in there, more grading to get more grain out. With a rotary combine, the centrifugal force does the separating for you. Falls on this pan down here, which shakes back and forth, walks it up to the front here, and you can't see it, but down in there is a fan. Blows air up through here, and then there's all those fingers down in there. You can adjust how wide open they are, how far they stick up, to adjust how clean the grain is. And then grain falls to the bottom, goes in an auger that's driven by this belt over to the other side and goes up to the top and goes in the grain tank. Stuff that's somewhat clean but could stand to get rethreshed or whatever still has grain in it falls more towards the back, and that's what that auger is. Goes up and drops it back in the front of the rotor on the other side to be rethreshed again. And then all the loose chaff and stuff that the fan is blowing comes blowing out the backside or falls out the backside down below here. And all the straw and fodder that stayed in with the rotor dumps out back here. And if the straw chopper is in place like it is now, chops it up, spreads it out. If I slide it back, it just drops around the ground. If I want to like bale straw, which I will be dropping some without the straw chopper. I got a couple people that want straw. Okay, there's a clean grain elevator. As you can see, it's got a non-perforated door on it. This is the return elevator. The stuff I was saying where it didn't get threshed out completely or whatever, it sends it back up to the front of the combine to go through again. Normally for corn and beans I have perforated doors on both, but towards the end of corn the perforated door on this one was kind of looking thin in spots, and I'd had the year before the chain going up there, the master link come apart, and when it jumped off it put a little dent in it. Not too big of a deal, but that dent made it wear fast there and started leaking corn. So I put the solid plate on so I could get corn done, and looked into getting a new one, and I'm going to make one because I think they want like $700 for just a curved piece of steel with perforation in it. But it helps get more fines and stuff out when you're harvesting. But the holes are big enough wheat can go through it, so that's why I switched to the solid panels during wheat harvest and oat harvest. And then switch back to perforated for corn and beans. So I just gotta pull 3 bolts out there and move the U-bolt over, and bolt this back on and snap her back in place. And there we go. Both are solid panels. Another thing off the checklist. I'll change the straw chopper speed to high speed so that chops and throws farther. Just making sure the knives are all intact. Getting about time for a reversal by the looks. Turned her over by hand there. All knives are accounted for. I think before this fall I'll reverse them though. I need to lock the cutter bar into the rigid position instead of floating like I use for soybeans, because I don't cut to the ground for wheat. And that's pretty simple. Let's turn the light here. All I need to do is just take this bar, unbolt it there, swing it over, bolt it in here. And these links here, well, this is the leaf springs, and then there's links that the head floats up and down on. And so that essentially locks it up, and which works good for wheat because I don't cut it all the way to the ground, and that keeps the bar up where the reel can pull everything in. I think my next shop tool should be a cordless ratchet. Much fun as it is to lay here down on the ground to do this, by having it set on the header cart, the cutter bar is all the way in the up position. If not, I'd have to find some way to hold it up, so this is just the best way to do it. And a miss. Swing and a miss. There. One down, and like, I don't know, 7 or 8 more to go.